Gin and tonic. So good.
Yeah.
This week on Dueling Review, we review Superman Leviathan Rising #1 from DC Comics. As Leviathan enacts a plan to take down Superman, it's up to Lois, Jimmy, and the heroes of the DC Universe to rescue the Man of Steel. Superman Leviathan Rising #1. Now, I know you're not a big fan of Brian Michael Bendis, Matthew.
I am a big fan of Brian Michael Bendis. However, I'm not a fan of Brian Michael Bendis in other fictional universes. Brian Michael Bendis's powers, Jinx, a lot of the stuff that he writes that's creator-owned, fabulous, fascinating stuff. But when you put him on an in-universe title and we have things like Doctor Strange going from talking like Doctor Strange to talking like Brian Bendis, I'm like, no, not interested. Thank you.
So I don't know how much of the Action Comics series you have been reading, but Bendis has been weaving this Leviathan, who is Leviathan, storyline since about issue 1001, maybe in issue 1000, but that had a lot of other things going on in it. But I know for the last 10, 11 issues, he has just been, who is this spooky person trying to control the world, and who are all the suspects? Is it this new player on the scene that's been part of the underground? Is it the one
Henry, the janitor?
Yes, it could be.
No.
It has been building and building and building. And this summer, they have the Leviathan event, which I guess is going to spread through all the Superman books. And I have a bit of an issue there. But I got to say it, and for people who have been listening to me talk about this on the Major Spoilers podcast, I am loving what Bendis is doing with Leviathan and with Action Comics specifically, because he's been able to bring in all of these characters that we haven't seen in comics for a long, long time and weave such an interesting tale. The problem here is that Bendis isn't the only one writing the book. He's the one writing the Leviathan stuff.
Right.
And I think that stuff is really good. But some of the other stuff that we get to in this book, because this is a big, 48-page, $9.99 book, a lot of it leaves me head scratching.
It is a puzzlement because, I mean, the opening story, the wraparound story, for lack of a better
that's
word.
Bendis.
Right, and that's Bendis. And it has the lady who looks like Octavia Butler, whom I don't know who she is, but she's clearly a big player in the post-Lex Luthor world.
Yes.
Has the wraparound, and then we cut into other sequences, and we have that weird Jimmy Olsen Matt Fraction segment.
That Jimmy Olsen, Matt Fraction, I think it's Mike Perkins who's doing... No, that's Steve Lieber and Matt Fraction on that.
Yeah, Fraction and Lieber is a great team.
There have been some interesting Jimmy Olsen bits in the Action Comics stuff, but oh my God, I laughed so hard on this Jimmy Olsen bit. I can't wait for that series to come out.
I kind of can't either, but tonally, it does not feel
it doesn't.
It makes any sense in this Leviathan event. And
no, it doesn't.
The Supergirl story
also does not belong in this issue.
I think the Supergirl story fits a little better, which I think is nice. And I think my biggest problem with this whole issue is we have the big sight gag with Jimmy.
Yes.
We have the thing that happens, and then the thing that happens and the creature responsible for it is not identified as the creature that it is until 15 pages later. And
you can say,
like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's Red Lantern, what's his name? Scar or whatever. Dexstar. Yeah.
Dexstar, the blue kitty cat.
Yeah, it is so funny because I'm like, what is wrong with this cat? Why is he vomiting blood? Oh, this is the horrible, grossest thing in the world. And then later in the issue, when they all bust in rescuing Superman and Jimmy's got his head stuck on a gorilla body, then you see the Dexstar outfit and you're like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense.
Right. It's the Red Lantern cat that came from the thing. But I don't know. This really feels, I've gone over this a number of thousands of times and we keep bumping into this. We have these books that feel like they're a set of trailers. Like we've gone to see a movie.
Yes.
And this is the trailers for what's coming up next. And this book at $9.99 feels like half a movie, then two trailers. You know what it reminds me of? Grindhouse.
I was going to just say the same thing.
You get half a movie, and then you get weird trailers, and then you get half another movie, and neither movie feels complete or satisfying.
And that's why I said I don't think that the Supergirl stuff belongs here, because I haven't been reading Supergirl. In fact, Action Comics is really the only regular DC comic that I'm pursuing and devouring at the moment. But I can kind of pick up what's going on with Jimmy Olsen because we've kind of been following his adventures as kind of the lead-in story to the Action Comics bit. So for him to be on this world tour showing off his photography book, that all makes perfect sense. And we're just kind of dropped media res into what's going on when he wakes up with this crazy jewel thief from another dimension.
That Jimmy's segment is hobo with a shotgun.
Yeah, no, it's funny, but the thing is, the Supergirl one, since I haven't been reading it, it's like, oh, we're going to tell the story of two people who have broken up who, if you haven't been reading Supergirl, you probably don't even know who that is. And if you've been reading the
adoptive parents, man.
And if you read the okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But if you read the Supergirl, what is it? Is it Adventure Comics?
Action.
No, Action Comics. No, there's another book, the other Superman book. Is that just Superman?
Superman and Action Comics, I think.
Okay, so then books. Superman is this whole thing about his Jor-El and his son growing up and the entire universe out to kill Jor-El. And if you've been reading that, Supergirl shows up in the middle of that story and is like, I'm here for the family fight and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, okay, I don't know what's going on with Supergirl. I understand that you're trying to get us to buy into these upcoming series, but extract that from the book. Really, the Jimmy Olsen stuff should have been extracted from the book. And they should have just put in some editor's notes on those big splash pages where everyone comes in to rescue saying, what's been going on with Jimmy? Find out in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen coming out this fall from Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber. That would have been perfectly okay. Knock this book down to make this go really daring, DC, and make this a $1.99 book that just has some brilliant stuff from Bendis where Clark is like, there's some guys that are gonna kidnap Clark Kent. I think I'm gonna play along with it. And Lois is like, oh no. You're going to act.
Where does Lois live right now? Because Lois does not live with
She's
Clark.
in Chicago right now, and I'm not exactly sure why. I don't know if she's hiding or on assignment or what's going on, but I just love this. Oh, Clark, don't act. And then later when Clark is kidnapped and Talia thinks that it's Clark, and so she's going to put this kryptonite on him so that when Superman shows up, he's weak. When he doesn't show up, Lois calls in Batman, and she outmaneuvers Batman in the logic department. And then when Wonder Woman shows up and she's like, yeah, Clark thought he was going to go act. And Wonder Woman's like, oh no, he's not acting, is he? And it's just like, oh my God, that's just so brilliant. And
it is.
The only problem that I have with it, as funny as that is, Superman is always acting. Superman and Clark Kent are two different personalities. And for, 75, 80 years, whatever it's been, no one has been able to figure out that Clark and Superman are two different people. I would argue that Clark Kent, a.k.a. Superman, a.k.a. Kal-El, is the greatest actor in all of the DCU, even beating out Batman, even beating out Zatanna.
But
Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
What if Bendis is actually taking a different tack? There are a lot of people who argue, is Superman the real man?
Oh, yeah.
Or is Clark the real man? What if Bendis's point is that they're both the real man? They're both different parts of it. I mean, if you listen to me on the Major Spoilers podcast,
if you're talking about multiple personality disorder, does that mean Leviathan is really Superman?
I'm talking about code switching. And if Leviathan turns out to be Superman, I will find Bendis.
Oh, no, I will be very upset with that because this is a mystery. This is a mystery you're supposed to be thinking about. But you're right. If that's what Bendis is doing, and this entire time it's been a Silver Age Superman pulling the wool over everyone's eyes and bringing down organized crime in one fell swoop, I'll be kind of disappointed with that.
I think what we're supposed to take away from this is that neither Superman nor Clark are any less real. Superman is just the same as Clark. They are both people. He does different things. He does, aims in different places, perhaps, wears tighter pants. But they are both legit. And I really do love the interplay between Clark and Lois, and I wish there was more of it.
Yes, me too.
And I love the fact that Lois figures out what's going on. She's like, oh, Clark didn't separate the mail. Clark always separates the mail.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, we're like, oh, that's a very Lois thing to pay attention to. That's the kind of thing that a wife would know about her husband. And then all of a sudden she's like, yep, call the Justice League. I'm like, man, that is so amazing. I love the fact that Bendis's Lois is a force to be reckoned with. And the criminals know that.
Yes.
When Leviathan is talking with the lady who looks like Octavia Butler, whose name I don't know, he's like, so we should attack Superman through his soft targets. And he starts to mention Lois's name, and she's like, don't say that word in this city. He will hear that word.
Oh, no, don't not say it in the city. Don't say it anywhere, because he's always listening to everything.
Yeah, and that name is not a soft. There is nothing soft about that particular target.
Yeah.
I love the fact that they are explicitly saying that Lois is a force to be reckoned with.
Well, and I also like the fact that Leviathan is approaching, especially Talia, when we find out that Leviathan is not Talia, because that's been a big
right
thought by a lot of people of who is Leviathan. Everyone's been talking about Talia. But Leviathan shows up to Talia and says, I told you, we don't monologue, essentially. We don't try to lure the prey in and then subdue them and then attempt to kill them later. No, the way that you kill Superman is the minute you get him, you kill him. You don't give him a moment to live. And
I just him the way you would kill a bear.
And I just find that super fascinating approach to the way Leviathan is thinking.
I'm also glad that they did address the Leviathan in the room, because Talia was running an organization called Leviathan.
Mm-hmm.
And, 2 celebrity writer big crossover messes ago, Talia being behind Leviathan was a huge plot point in the Bat books. So having them explicitly Talia say to him, you stole Leviathan from me, or you took Leviathan from me, whatever it is that's going on. I'm glad they addressed that, because that's been my biggest complaint about this Leviathan crossover, not reading the book, is we already have a Leviathan in the DC universe, and it's already a big universe-spanning weird conspiracy theory.
Yes.
It bugs me that they're reusing that name.
Well, maybe not, because here's somebody that's co-opting, and if you were going to throw someone off your trail, what a perfect way to do it than to use the name of the organization that everyone knows who the head of that is.
Yeah, but throwing yourself off of the trail by gaining the attention of Batman seems like a bad plan.
I don't know, because I'm very curious of what's going to happen, because we know that there is part of this Year of the Villain thing that DC is doing. We know that there is an upcoming 6-issue miniseries featuring Ra's al Ghul, written and illustrated by Neil Adams. So part of me wanted to say, maybe Leviathan is Ra's al Ghul hiding out and trying to bide his time until the moment that he appears. But Ra's al Ghul isn't that way. He is that person who needs to tell you. He's the sociopath that needs to tell you how he beat you before he actually beats you, and then that's his downfall. So I don't think that Leviathan can be Ra's al Ghul. I don't think it's Lex Luthor. I don't know who it is at this moment. My guess is it is going to be someone we haven't thought about. I'm hoping it's not, I hope it's not Mr. Mxyzptlk. But it could be almost anybody at this point.
It could be Mon-El. It could be Steve Jobs. It could be.
I don't think
Professor
it's going to be Steve
Xavier.
Jobs.
It could be. You don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's not going to be Steve Jobs.
The thing, Marvel tried to bring back an undead Lady Diana, so stupider things have happened.
They tried, but they did not. That was the smart thing.
I think that for this to be realistic and meaningful, they are going to have a really hard road to hoe, because if it turns out to be something obscure like, oh no, it's the prankster and now he's dangerous.
Or the toy man.
People are going to be disappointed by that. But if it turns out to be an entirely new character, then people are going to be mad that we invested all this time in who is Leviathan, because who is Leviathan is not a mystery if we don't know the rules. So I feel like it has to be somebody established somewhere in the DC universe. And it also has to be somebody that means something, maybe not to Superman, but something somewhere along the line.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that it ends up being like a Green Lantern villain, or someone we haven't seen, like Starro. Actually, we just saw Starro the Conqueror, but you know what I mean? Somebody who at least will have some cachet. And also, speaking of which, why is Manhunter in this issue?
Martian Manhunter? Oh, why is Manhunter in here? Because she is... this goes back to like 4 or 5 issues ago when the DEO got blown up. She shows up as an operative trying to figure out, basically a lawyer for Mr. Bones and a couple of other people, trying to figure out who is Leviathan. Amanda Waller is been removed off the map and was, the last time I saw her, up at the Fortress of Solitude under surveillance with Jimmy Olsen, because people are trying to take these people out. And that's why Manhunter pops up. That's why Mr. Bones, Director Bones shows up. That's why
Mr. Bones.
That's why
Mr.
the question showed up not too long ago. in this series. And that's why I'm saying
like
that's what's really cool, is that suddenly Superman will turn and he'll start having this conversation with somebody. You're like, who's he having a conversation with? And suddenly you realize, oh my God, that smoke looks like a question mark. It's the question. And you're like, wow, he is really going all out to pull in all of these various characters from the DC universe. And you can tell he's just having fun with it. And I think we need to make a transition over to art because, and again, I'm really removing the Jimmy Olsen and the Supergirl stuff from this story. But the art in the Bendis stuff is just so great.
I feel like the art throughout the issue is pretty solid. But yeah, the Bendis chapter is really expressive, really well done. And of course, Leviathan spends his portion of the book when he's, again, talking to the lady whose name I don't know. His face is constantly changing. He's got this weird device that's causing his face to keep changing back and forth. It's switching. And I
know who it is.
Ooh.
I know who it is. You keep going.
Nelson Rockefeller.
No, it's somebody close, but keep going.
But it's really fascinating that every face looks real and three-dimensional and human and expressive.
Yes.
And there's such a great scene where Superman is flying over the city and he stops dead and he's like, huh. And then all of a sudden he flies to Chicago to tell Lois, oh yeah, there's somebody in our house. It's so great to see Superman just stop dead, get a puzzled look on his face, and then immediately go look for Lois. It's
because
beautiful.
And it's great because he's like, they're not there to kidnap Superman, and they're not there to kidnap you because you're not there. You're off the map. They must be after Clark. I think I'm going to play along. She's like, no, don't pretend. Okay, so here's my theory on who this is, and it's going to piss off a lot of people.
Uh-oh.
Maxwell Lord.
I hate you.
I just suddenly had the revelation. Who could pull off the rich, smarmy bastard that has been a villain in the past?
Professor X.
Well, no, not Professor X. But who has attempted to take down, what's the Checkmate? I haven't seen Checkmate being brought up at all in this series because I think they're disbanded. And I don't know what's going on. And Mr. Terrific's off in another dimension. But what if it's Maxwell Lord?
I hope it's not Maxwell Lord.
I hope it's not either, but at the same time, it would kind of make sense.
It'd be interesting. I mean, we haven't seen an extended Superman-Maxwell Lord rivalry before.
No.
We had that thing where Maxwell Lord was trying to mind control Superman. But
yes.
That's
and maybe he's learned his lesson.
Or maybe he's just...
But again, I don't know how that all fits into, Wonder Woman breaking his neck and Max Lord being dead and all that stuff plays into this now.
That happened in a previous universe.
I know.
Max is actually back from the dead in the Rebirth universe.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, he was part of... there was an issue of something where characters from the pre-Flashpoint DCU showed up. And one of them was Max Lord, one of them was Lobo, one of them was like the original Emerald Empress. And they were
was that in Convergence?
Something.
Was that in Convergence?
No, it was after Convergence. It was during the Rebirth stuff where these characters showed up and they were explicitly, oh yeah, we're from the universe before this one.
Oh,
that's
okay.
actually how we got original Lobo back after having that faux Lobo.
Okay, then I'm putting my money. I'm going to put $10 on Maxwell Lord.
I want $10.
Okay, we'll find out. You got to put your $10 down on somebody.
I'm going to put my $10 down on Morgan Edge.
That would be another good one, right?
Yep. Somebody who makes sense within a Superman context, someone we haven't seen for a while, someone who would have a believable grudge, but also have access to technology because he works with the intergangs.
Yes.
I think it'd be interesting.
But isn't Morgan Edge, he's just a player for Darkseid, or is he one of the new gods?
Morgan Edge was just an Earth guy.
Okay.
He was part of Kirby's run on Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, Jimmy Olsen,
Morgan Edge actually bought Galaxy Communications and owned the Daily Planet.
Right, but I couldn't remember if he was actually, like a new god in disguise. But okay, so he's just hook, line, and sinker with Darkseid and the new gods. Yeah. Okay. You might be right on that. But I'm gonna keep my money on Maxwell Lord for the moment.
Maxwell,
especially as this whole thing plays out. So here's the deal. This is an expensive comic. I, for the life of me, cannot recommend this book at $10 for someone who hasn't already bought into the entire Action Comics run and this whole build up to the Leviathan event. If you're not bought into that, I really can't recommend you buy this book at $9.99. Now, if you want to see a very funny Jimmy Olsen story, if you want to see some dynamic and very well-written interactions between Clark and Lois, then yeah, maybe you do want to spend your $10 on this. But this really, if DC wanted to do things right, this should have been a $1.99 book. They should have pushed it hard. They should have made 1 million copies on this thing, made them all returnable, and people would have bought this hand over fist because it would have been a $1.99 book. As it stands now, it's pretty, it's well written, but it's too expensive. And if you're not ready for Leviathan and you don't care about Leviathan, then you're not going to give two craps about this book.
It is chaos. And that's the thing that I come away from this with. Everything that I love about this issue, I do love. But there's just so much in here. And it's literally a set of trailers for the greater Superman universe. There's even an in-joke about the Wonder Twins limited series.
Oh, man. There, at one point, Lois is wearing a Jaina t-shirt.
Yep. And I'm just like, what? They talk about Young Justice, which is coming, from the Wonder Twin or the Wonder Comics thing. And I'm just... It's so much, and
But Bendis has been doing that in all of the action stuff. He's been making these cuts to all these other DC things, which I love. I love the deep cuts. That's why I loved 52 so much.
Yeah, I see that, but I just feel like there's a way to do it where it feels like deep cuts, and there's a way to do it where it feels alienating to me as a reader. I love deep cuts as much as the next guy. I just called out Morgan Edge, for God's sake, but. I feel like this issue is not something that if I were going to pick this up to figure out how I was going to get into Leviathan, I would not walk away from this going, man, I'm totally wondering now about this Leviathan. I think I would be confused and frightened.
They haven't mentioned Bruno Mannheim in a while either.
Bruno Mannheim is dead, though. That's probably
in this universe, though?
Oh, Bruno Mannheim is dead in every universe.
Okay, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
A mauve lantern.
Listeners, I want to know who your thoughts are on who is Leviathan. Head over to majorspoilers.com. In the comments section, let us know who you think. Who's closer to being right? Is it Morgan Edge? Is it Maxwell Lord? Is it Bruno Mannheim? Is it Ragman? You got a second?
Todd Holton, Super Green Beret.
No, what's happened to the Golden Guardian or whatever his name is, the Guardian?
I haven't seen the Guardian in a while.
He's not gone wackadoo and turned evil, has he?
I hope not. He's cool.
It couldn't be anybody from Star Labs. Who's that bad guy from... Yeah, he's not rich enough or devious enough. The head scientist at Star Labs from the...
Dabney Donovan?
Whatever the guy was at the Superman animated series, who was also in the comics.
The Superman animated series?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Dr. Hamilton?
I think maybe so. But see, he doesn't come off as a businessman. This is somebody that's a businessman.
I think Dr. Hamilton went evil for a while.
He did. That's why I was wondering if he could be Leviathan, because he would have that access from Star Labs and from other places to do this stuff.
It could be Jason Momoa. Seriously, there's a lot of people that it could
What
be.
If...
Former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright.
What if, because there have been some hints dropped left and right by Bendis and some others about the Legion of Superheroes. What if this is...
Leviathan is the Time Trapper?
Well, it could be him, or what if it's Cosmic Boy or Lightning Lad or Mon-El just trying to do this whole thing as a fun Superman, come join the Legion of Superheroes in the future kind of thing.
A Shrek?
Yeah, it would be weird to do that.
It would. I'm not sure that would fit this particular.
No, I don't think it would either. I'm going to stick with Maxwell Lord.
Okay, Mordru. No, the Time Trapper.
No, I don't think it can be, because there's not really any time stuff. This is all about crime families and the syndicates that are trying to take over in the absence of Lex Luthor and fill that hole, but they can't.
Leland McCauley.
They can't take over Metropolis until
it's Jim Shooter.
Well, Jim Shooter's always been the villain. Anyway, I don't know. That's going to be interesting. Anyway, listeners.
Yeah.
Here's the part of the show where we tell you what's coming out next week, and most importantly, how you can help shape next week's episode. And I'm glad a lot of people wrote and suggested Superman Leviathan Rising #1.
My pocketbook isn't. But
well, I mean, we got the review copy from DC, so it's really not out of our pockets. But there are some times where, like, the Marvel stuff is totally out of our own pocket because Marvel doesn't send us jack.
And that's because we love all of our spoilerettes.
Yes, we do. But here's the thing. I'm going to go through a list of some of the comics that are coming out next week, and then Matthew's going to tell you how you can shape the future of next week's episode. So next week from Boom Studios, we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer number 5. Oh, Xander a vampire. Spoiler alert.
Zampire.
He's a Zampire. Rocco's Modern Afterlife number 3. Ronan Island number 4. The Thrilling Adventure Hour trade paperback. Now, we don't do trade paperbacks, but that is coming out next week. That is a fun book right there. Dark Horse Comics next week has Black Hammer 45 from the World of Black Hammer number 4. Let's see. We also have Disney Frozen Hero Within number 1. Disney Pixar Toy Story 4 trade paperback. Minecraft trade paperback. And Sword Daughter number 7. Those are all from Dark Horse Comics. DC Comics next week, we've talked about this. I know I've talked about this on Finally Friday. I think I may have mentioned it briefly on another place where we've done a show. Maybe I've mentioned it before, but DC has really dialed back the number of books that it is releasing per month. Mm-hmm. And so next week, when you look at, even compared to the number, DC still has more single issues, but it's releasing about the same number of issues as Dynamite is next week. So next week, DC Comics is Adventures of the Super Sons, number 11. Fantastic series right there. That's another book that I haven't missed a single issue of. Batman number 72. Deceased number 2. That's the zombie story. Yeah. Female Furies number 5 of 6, the penultimate issue there. Harley Quinn number 62. Shazam number 6. And Young Justice number 6 coming out next week from DC Comics. Dynamite Entertainment has Army of Darkness, Bubba Hotep number 4. Betty Page Unbound number 1. Elvira, Shape of Elvira number 3, Red Sonja number 5, $6 Million Man number 4, and Vampirilla Roses for Dead number 4, the final issue in that book. IDW Publishing also has a smaller list of comics coming out next week, including Impossible Incorporated trade paperback, Marvel Action Adventures Avengers number 5, Star Wars Adventures number 22, and Tangled the series, Hair and Now number 3.
Oh,
that's the Disney hair thing,
Rapunzel,
the Rapunzel thing. Yeah. Hair and Now. Image Comics next week has Birthright number 36, Eclipse number 16, Section 0 number 3, Sharky Bounty Hunter number 4. Did you finally review that first issue?
Sharky Bounty Hunter? I want to say that I got issue 1 or issue 2. I can't even remember.
All right. Thumbs number 1 and Witchblade number 14 coming out next week from Image Comics. Marvel Comics, Black Cat number 1.
Bam-a-lam.
Captain Marvel number 6. Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys Marvel History number 4 of 6. Deadpool number 14. Guardians of the Galaxy Annual number 1. Oh, that features a Ron Lim cover. Yeah. Ron Lim, the X-Mutants.
Yes, I remember Ron Lim from X-Mutants. You are his fan.
I am his fan. Oh, man, he rolled his eyes when I met him at San Diego Comic-Con many years ago, and I was like, wait, are you the same Ron Lim that did the X-Mutants way back in the day? And he's just like, kind of turns his head down and goes back to his art. He's like, yeah, that's me. I was like, oh man, I love that stuff. Savage Avengers number 2. You're the one that bought that. Star Wars, Age of Rebellion, Luke Skywalker number 1. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge number 1 of 5. Symbiote Spider-Man number 1 of 5. Tony Stark Iron Man number 12. WR. I don't know what that means.
War of the Realms.
Oh, War of the Realms. Also, War of the Realms number 5 comes out next week. Yeah. In all the rest category, we have Dead Sonja number 1. Dragon Blood number 2. Fallen World number 2. Legend Lore Realm Chronicles trade paperback volume 5. Laurel and Hardy Classic Follies number 1. Now, I can guarantee you, anyone who recommends that, if everyone recommended that, we cannot even get our hands on this. This is one of those things that they don't make it available on Comixology. Yep. And unless you ordered this directly 3 months ago, your comic book store is not going to get it. Yeah. So I would recommend not recommending that book.
That's Steven's recommendation.
That's my recommendation. Yes. Shadow Roads number 8, Sweetness and Lightning graphic novel number 12, Tank Girl full color classics number 3, and Vietnam Journal graphic novel volume 7, Valley of the Death. That is a $17.99 book. All right, that is just a small selection of the comics that are coming out next week. Over at patreon.com/Major Spoilers, we have the link to the complete list.
And what you're going to do is you're going to go to patreon.com/major spoilers. You're going to click on the link for that complete list. You are going to, in the comments section for that particular post, tell us what it is that you want us to see. And you're going to say, well, Matthew, I'm not a patron member at Major
Oh, wait, let me do this. The people are going to say, Matthew, but I'm not a patron. Even though I've been enjoying your content for decades now, literally decades now, I still have not saw the light and become a patron. I can't participate, even if I wanted to.
Au contraire, mon frere.
What?
It does not require Major Spoilers patronage to participate in the Dueling Review. And here's why. Dueling Review is for everyone. Dueling Review is like ice cream on the sidewalk. Anybody who wants to come up and lick it can perfectly, easily do that.
I think that you could probably find a better analogy. Like anyone who wants to dip their hand into the tub of butter can just all dip their hand into the tub of butter.
Exactly. It's like bread at a really nice restaurant. They put it on the table and it's there for everybody, even if you're not paying.
And if you don't eat it, they just take that basket and they move it to another table.
That's right. And then they,
but
wipe it off.
Wait a minute. So we're talking about food and butter and bread and ice cream on the sidewalk. But at some point, people are going to start poking around that Patreon site and they're going to find out a whole bunch of other things there.
That's correct. And once you've had that free bread, you can, in fact, purchase your entree. You can get access to all of the exclusive content that's only available to our patrons and patronage type
like
members.
What? I mean, come on, Matthew. I mean, $5. If I kicked in, if I'm Mr. No patron right now, and I decided to kick in $5 a month, I mean, what else could you give me for a measly? I mean, you guys are putting out 7 podcasts a week. What else could you give me for my measly $5 per month? I mean, it's got to be what? Just a few funny pics and memes?
Oh, better than that, my friends. You will get behind-the-scenes updates on the secret stuff that's going on at Major Spoilers. You get an exclusive podcast that's only available to patrons, the Flashback Podcast. You get episodes of Critical Hit. Critical Hit's probably our most popular show. You get that a week early and commercial-free.
What?
Yes. And if you and a few friends can get us to that next level of patronage, you will have access to the GM Roundtable where the Critical Hit crew, these are old school gamers and geniuses, and Rodrigo, who is like a savant. We will get together and we will help you to become the greatest game master in the history of game mastery. We will be like a Voltron of game mastery, and all we have to do is get a few more people involved, get a few more people to that next level, and we will be doing that for you as well. Plus, you get the bonus tracks, you get awesome stuff, you get
access to so much stuff,
behind the scenes secret stuff.
Yeah, you get our pre-show that we get on that. I mean, there's like literally just the pre-show is about 30 minutes of bonus material a week, plus 30 to 45 minutes of flashback, plus the Critical Hit a week early, plus all these other things. Man, $5 a month, that's a bargain. As Eddie Murphy would say, that's a bargain. That's a bargain for me. So what are you waiting for? So what are you waiting for, listeners? Become a patron today at patreon.com/Major Spoilers. And for all of you who, whether you're a patron or not, thank you for checking out Dueling Review this week. We appreciate whether you're a patron or not a patron, but realize that those patron pledges keep this show going week after week after week and motivates us to produce more content for you. Thanks so much for checking out Dueling Review. We will talk with you next time when you will hear Matthew say,
I want to feed your fingertips to the Wolverines.
This podcast is copyright 2019 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.